Top Hits USA from RPM. Our name says it all. Get the latest hits while they're the hottest. With Top Hits USA, you'll have the track for sure. Visit tophitsusa.com or call 800-521-2537 and get a free demo.
DJ Event Planner will change the way you manage and run your business. Streamline all of your procedures and software into one easy-to-manage system. DJ Event Planner, the ultimate online planning tool.
Good evening, everyone. It is Tuesday night, and I am here on with our Tuesday night show. And you might be noticing that Brian has got a hat on. Oh, wait, no, tonight. Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, I've got a special guest. Brian is in Italy right now at the FBT headquarters. And I don't know how much I can say about it, but we're just going to talk about it for just a little bit after I introduce Howie. Howie Darkstar from Darkstar, which was it, Howie?
Darkstar Events.
Darkstar Events. You're based out of in New Jersey. What city are you?
Phillipsburg,
New Jersey. And Howie's going to be with me tonight. We're going to kind of talk about our markets a little bit, kind of do some compare and contrast, and talk about how we, from our years of experience, how building your business and getting known in your area, how it'll differ and be the same in our different markets. Okay, let's talk about Brian. If you guys follow Brian, Howie, have you seen some of the pictures Brian has put up here in the last couple of days?
Yes, I've everything today so far.
First off, I just love seeing pictures of the different communities like that, and he's showing like this street view of.
I love that thing from the balcony. I mean, that is just awesome.
That is
his own little chair and table and. Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, exactly. You're not going to have, in my case with a larger family, there's no way that one little chair and table is going to do a darn thing for us. But, for a little romantic getaway for the wife and myself, a little chair, a little table up there on the balcony overlooking that street would be an awesome thing. So Brian is in Italy. He's over at the FBT headquarters. He's doing some video work with them. And there's some cool stuff that he's going to be talking about when he gets back, and maybe not immediately, but a little bit later. That's some products that are going to be pretty cool in the DJ world, but we can't talk too much about those in the live format because it's all things are getting ready for NAMM, which is coming up in January. So Brian will be back with us, I believe, next week. I think he'll be back in the States later this week, so we'll get an update from him. So Howie, give us an idea. What's your market area in such that you work in the New Jersey area?
I don't do too much close to home. We have a depressed market here. It was a factory town for 100 years. And we're considered part of the Lehigh Valley. Bethlehem Steel, you heard of them? They went out of business. And we're talking 50, 100,000 jobs gone overseas. So there's really not that much money. I mean, you used to go and you could see music 7 nights a week. Now it's just weekends and Sunday afternoon. So I don't work in my area. I go to Hunterdon County,
which is how far of a drive for you?
That would be I'm about 45 minutes from New York.
Okay.
So it's about halfway. So somewhere around 20 minutes, a half hour into Hunterdon County, because it's kind of like the old Sam Kinison joke. There's millions of people starving out there in the desert, and he says, "Well, move to where the food is. And that's what I did. There's no money here. I went to Hunterdon County. It's the third richest county in the country.
Wow.
And so I went there. And that's where I make my money.
Let's kind of talk about your local now, that since you don't do much in your local community, and in my case, I don't do much in my local area either. You mentioned, of course, it was a town. The business has moved away. What's the population of the town, and what's your?
Our population now is probably, I'm guessing, about 50,000, maybe.
In that 50,000, if you were kind of to get an idea of the demographic, is it an older community? Are there younger people in that community?
Yes, there are. There are. The sad thing is that it's almost at the tipping point, what they say, where half of the houses are rentals now. They got bought up.
Yep.
The people couldn't afford them anymore. And but yes, there are a lot of young people, but they're like Chick-fil-A and Walmart workers, and they really can't afford to spend much money.
And it's seeing a similar thing in my area. Is we were more of a farming community, and when there were farmers, a lot of farmers and such, when they would have good years, like the milk prices were high, and there was 10 farms within 3 miles of our place here. When the prices were high, they could afford to pay for more services, what have you. When they're depressed, it wasn't. Now, most of those farmers are out of business, and you've got just a few corporate, and you have a lot of people who are renting the farmhouse or doing this and doing that, and the money, as you say, just isn't there as it would be. But yet, people are still getting married, and they're still having events, I'm guessing, in that community. Is that correct?
Yes, they are. I do very few in my area. I can't afford to work for $500.
Yep. I know exactly what you're saying, and that becomes
this is my whole livelihood.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and I don't do the bar thing. I've had offers with that. Hey, come do karaoke. We'll give you $75 in a bar tab. I go, well, I don't drink, and $75 is.
It doesn't. Yeah, it's not worth me starting the car for that.
Yeah.
But yeah, the idea that there are events, and that's one of the things I want to get across, gang, as we're talking tonight, is that there are events everywhere. Even in my small little community here, there's still probably about 30 to 35 weddings, 365 people there. Lori's newspaper, which covers the area, we figure that's probably seeing about 15,000 people within generally about a 10 to 12 mile radius of us. Not a huge population, it's very spread out and such, but there's still probably 35 weddings because there are people doing outdoor weddings. There's different things. But it's, as Howie said, is I can't afford to be doing $3,500 gigs. I'll kill myself because I'll be working so hard to try to, and you'll never make ends meet at that rate. So I've got to go to a different market also.
Well, the good thing though, too, is the ones that do hire me know, that they're getting a quality product. There's value there. And, for the most part, I did a few like banquets for the local pool league and so forth, and they didn't even call this year. And when I saw the person, they said, we were embarrassed to ask you because we didn't have enough money in the kitty.
Yeah.
And I look at that as a positive thing. They know I don't have that reputation as the cheap DJ.
Right.
You can get him for $300. He did our event. If I go say, well, I can do it for this much, but well, you did it for so-and-so for $300, and then you're stuck.
Yeah. And there's times where you like to hear that, and there's times where it's like, especially if it's like for us, a mid-November day or something like that. It's a weekend in which there's no way I'm going to book anything. So, and they're like, oh, we didn't even call you because we didn't have much money. It's like, if there's a time of the year that I'm going to work with you, I've had that situation. I mean, even at my children's school, it's like, okay, you're not on homecoming and you're not on busy prom dates. You're like in the middle of a weird Friday night that never books out. Gosh, give me a call. The worst we can do is say, it's not going to work. But
Yeah, I always give the option. Let's see what we can work out.
exactly. Yes.
And I get that. Well, then, how about if we, can you do it? We don't want any lights, and I'm like, well, that affects me as well, though, because there are people that are going to see me there, and I go there and I don't bring, a light show, which I'm known for. Then I look bad to other prospective customers, or clients rather, so it's, it's a case by case basis, really, but, for the most part, I'll go to Hunterdon County, and I do fine. I mean, I will be off after the holiday shows. I won't have an event until April, and I'm fine with that because April starts and I'm booked solid right on through.
Days.
It
gets to be a crazy time, though. I mean, you go from 0 to 60 and plus in that short time frame. Just checking. We're just trying to follow the chat. If you're watching us on Facebook or YouTube, thank you guys for watching. I'm trying to follow the chat room in such a little bit. And as I was telling Howie beforehand, for those of you who have followed along, I've had multiple eye surgeries. And one of the weird changes as my right eye is healing, which is my main eye to look right now, it's before I could read the page. Last week I could read the screen at this distance. Now I got to get a little closer to be able to read it clearly. And that's something that they'll fix, of course, but so just kind of bear with me. If somebody puts something up, if you want me to see it, please put my name first. Put John space, because then I know I can see that stand out and say, oh, that's for me. If it's not for me and you guys are just chatting, please continue to talk, amongst yourselves. Don't listen to us. But if you're on Facebook, the chat is, we're doing it on YouTube also, and you can go to discjockeynews.com/live. That'll take you to the page that will have a player there, and you can click on it and go and be with us tonight. I didn't put the link in like I typically do, so I apologize for that. Howie, let's kind of bridge on. When you made the decision to go and work in this additional market, this additional town, this additional area, what have you, what kind of a plan did you put together to get known in that area? What did you have to do?
Actually, it was accidental, and it was a good thing. I was asked to do a charity event down that way, and there's a place called a Freedom House, and it's for long-term drug and alcohol recovery. Right. 9 months to a year type of thing. And a lot of the politicians, the bigwigs in industry, and the New York Jets and New York Giants support this cause. And I had some mutual friends because I worked in New York City with the bands earlier in my career, and they said, "Hey, Howie's got all this stuff, and let's have him come down." And I had to look at this like, is it worth it? And it really was, absolutely. I said, okay, I'm going to get exposure in two ways. There's some very wealthy people, and there was media coverage. I'm talking TV and newspapers and politicians. And so I did it, and I've been doing it for 10 years at the Freedom House there. And I do it every year, every summer. I actually do 3 events for them. They're the ones I'm doing the big Christmas show for, with the pyrotechnics and all that. And what it does is it exposes me to these very wealthy people.
Sure.
And then when summertime rolls around and they have these huge estates with the beautiful built-in swimming pools, they call me. Hey, can you do our picnic?
Yeah.
And yes, well, how much? I give them the price and they don't even blink. I mean, you're talking, retired football players and, captains of industry, they're great clients. So that's how I got into it. It was just accidental. And then I said, wow, I got to focus on this, and I stuck with it, and I stuck to my price. And like I said, I don't get a lot in this town, but I'm good to go. I really am. You know, I've already booked the summer, and usually I don't do that until January, but they started booking already, you know, so
Not going to complain for sure.
I'm not. No, it's
No,
great, you
no,
know.
that's awesome. Good
And I
stuff.
got 2 weddings in April, and I'm like, what's up with that?
Mm-hmm. That's early.
Like, well, to them, they told me it's cheaper. You know, they can get the venue cheaper, and they want a very high end place. You
Yeah.
know, and so they can get it in April. That's fine with me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Very
So
nice.
it was just you know, it was kind of a gut thing. You know, I didn't want to do this for free, and I'm glad I did. I'm really glad I did. I met some really cool people.
Mm-hmm. So as you were doing, you started with that event for the house there. Now, how do they? Thanks, Robin. So how did you go from that? Now, how do they find your name and number today? I mean, you're not just working off referrals from that one location, and I'm sure there's referrals from others. But I mean, are you able to go and just on word of mouth, or do you have to do some marketing in that location?
Actually, I don't do any marketing at all. I don't do any. I've developed a great rapport with people, and it's generational now. I've done weddings for people, and then this past April, I did a sweet 16 for their daughter,
Mm-hmm.
and then I did that, and at that event, then their neighbors were there, and they came up and, hey, would you do our wedding? And it's just it just snowballed from there. I mean, I've had a lot of really cool people come up, and they were like, wow, we can make a great website, and it only costs this and this. And I said, but I'm booked solid from April till January every year. I just don't see the wisdom in spending thousands of dollars. I mean, I'm just fortunate, very fortunate that I was at the right place at the right time.
Yeah.
And it just word of mouth and passing out cards. I do a nice show, and yeah, I guess I did some improv early, in my early 20s in New York. So I'm good with people and on the fly, and people like that.
For sure.
It was just a natural fit for me, that I'm a people person like that. And it just, that's all I've done really, honestly, you know.
Last
You know,
night,
it's just,
Randy was talking about, and if you didn't get a chance to watch last night's shows, we had some great content last night. You need to go check those out, pop out and check those. But Randy was talking about making it memorable so people will remember you.
yes.
If you're looking at your show and your performances, you must be doing something right. If people are coming up to you and saying, "Hey, can you do this?" What is that memorable thing that you do that people are like, we got to have Howie?
Well, I would say that it's the first impression, because I'm always there early. I'm the first one at any event, and very, very few people will see me set up. They come there, it's done. The truck is washed before I go there.
Yes.
You present yourself as a professional, and people pick up on it. They really do. And just I get into their heads. I talk to them. What do you want? The one wedding. Yes, the theme of our wedding is 2 hearts joined as one. And I said, oh, I can do something with that. And I use that ADJ gobo laser on the dance floor, and you can get it programmed to just have the hearts. It's the laser that's behind me right now that has the stars.
Mm-hmm.
And the 2 hearts overlap, red and green. And then I used another script laser over with their name on it. just on the floor, for a while, and they just thought that was really something. I mean, and just simple little things that these people talked about this for weeks and weeks, and I'll customize for each individual person, and that's it. I make them all unique, and even the ones that I have, like the Freedom House event I've been doing every year for the past 10 years, it's always a different show every year. Nice. Nothing is the same. I try to stand out like that. Like, they're not going to go, okay, when's he going to do this? It'd be like the magician doing the same trick over and over again.
Yep.
You got to come up with something new. And that's how I stand out, and that, keeping up with the music.
Yeah. Yeah. That's certainly, I find as I'm getting older, keeping up with the music is, I know some people have said it's harder to do, but I think it's more critical for me to do, especially when I'm doing high school dances, because first off, I don't listen to it as much as I used to, but the kids, if they can come up there and they can, pull one over on the old guy, they get a kick out of that. But, being prepared and knowing the music is something that a person's really got to do and be there, because they'll be like, oh, wow. And I've got a friend who's in his, he still does high school dances, and he's still doing probably 15 a year. And I think he's 63, 64, but he knows his music and can mix music better than 90% of the DJs, 80, 95% of the DJs out there. He's just good at what he does. So anyway, so that was, let's jump back. You mentioned you get there early, and you so they don't see you set up and such. When the venue people come in, and they generally judge us as entertainment when the guests arrive. They want their room to look perfect when the guests arrive.
Absolutely.
You've got that down. So when they come in, you've got things cleaned up, looking good. You're dressed to the nines. You're ready to go.
I overdress sometimes, but you can always take off the jacket and tie if you're overdressed. If you're underdressed,
And this is probably this is a great little point here, gang. If you don't do this, is that the arriving early, even though there's times we're not paid to arrive early, because the venue, even though they're, maybe the guests are still milling in and out, or as they're coming in, they appreciate it if you are set and everything looks clean, tidy, the cords are tucked, you've got your scrims lined up and all these different things, because that makes them look better. And you're looking professional. Howie's looking professional. He's got a smile on his face. The background music going if he's doing that. But there's everything he has is not going to be taking away from their venue. That's huge.
It really is. It really is. And the venues will recommend me for that reason.
Yeah.
So that's another big selling point too.
Yeah. It's just, and it's something little, and you don't think about. I didn't think about it as much when I was younger, because back then it's like, oh, they're not hiring us for dinner music. We start at 8:00. We'll arrive at 7:00, and we'll drag the speakers in, and we'll set up and go. That's what we did back in the late 80s, early 90s.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, we didn't realize how much damage we were doing to our reputation, but everyone did it at that time. So
yeah, I remember those days.
Yeah, not
fondly. Back then when we had homemade speakers, and now it's all, that's all part of the appearance too. I think is important is have good looking equipment. I mean, I really take care of my stuff. It's name brand. It scuff free. I have covers for everything. You need to do that. You need to do that. Anything, whatever, my personal preference is the EVs, but you need a brand name, whether it's the EVs or JBS, something that the public will know. I see a lot of guys around here think they're going to make it big in my town with these homemade speakers. And it's like, dude, they look like homemade speakers.
Yeah. Especially if they look the part. And if it's homemade, it's homemade. There's no way around that. But even the sound quality, I think in this day and age, when people can go and buy a little Bose, and but they get their little Bose, Bluetooth speaker, and those sound really, really good. I think the days of us having the old the big horn and the 15 and blaring.
Mm-hmm.
They're expecting a better quality sound out of us as mobile entertainers than they were 10 to especially 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I look at the original PVs we had. We thought they were great, but after I put them on a shelf for about 5 years and then came back and listened to them again, it's like, oh my gosh, they're horrible. Ran into a guy who was still using those. I think it was last summer, a version of that speaker. I couldn't believe we used them, and you thought they were even quality. I mean, it's like listening to AM radio compared to.
I've done that. Isn't that something? I mean, I really thought I had a great thing 10 years ago. And now the EVs, I actually had people at this last wedding that I did last month came up and complimented me on the sound.
Yeah.
And, it's all like, carefully laid out, because I have a technical background, as a sound and light guy, with bands. And so I know, what it means, to be, at 0 dB all the way through your audio chain. And by the time I got to those EVs, I never hit 0 dB on the back of those EVs. I went back and I'm looking and never hit it, but there was not that ear fatigue that we would get from those old speakers you were talking about with the horns, where, oh man, after 3 hours, oh, your ears are ringing. I have the punch there, and everybody's dancing, and it's nice and clear. And I'm behind the booth and people are giving me high fives, and it's like, go with the quality.
Mm-hmm.
These things, you're right. It's night and day with the new stuff, and you have to invest. You have to invest.
Yeah, for sure. Just put a note here.
I see you're trying to read the comments.
I've got a comment there that Mike just put up there and such. So I was trying to read that and listening to. I want to talk a little bit because you came from that audio sound, and Mike had a question. So I'll throw this out there so we won't forget it. The reason you went with the EV and as because you've worked with different sound systems and such over the years.
Mm-hmm.
So when we get back to the topic, I want to talk a little bit about selecting speakers and sound system, because it's not often. There's a lot. Most of us in the DJ world, we came into it because we didn't come from the audio side of it. And you were saying the 0 dB going across the board. So I want to dig into that. But first, Mike had said, I've been asked to do 12-year-old daughter's Christmas dance, middle school dance from 1 to 3, and they were offered $200. Fair deal for a smoke machine, power, and moving headlights. I don't know of any school that you can use a smoke machine at anymore.
Nope.
I don't think. And as a middle school dance, the lights that go over from my experience at middle school dance, I know we love our moving head fixtures. I've got a dozen of them on the other side over there. If I were doing a middle school dance, probably the thing I would do would be pull out, going back to the old things like the Vertigo, the strobe, and the black lights.
Yes.
Because the kids want that annoying movement, is in my opinion, is what I would go with that. The $200 doesn't cover the cost of it. And Mike, I feel you here, because I've got the same situation coming up with my children's school. My oldest, his class is having a fundraising dance. And my typical, for my base show going into do a high school is $750 for the day. There's no way that this small school is going to be able to pay that. But they're doing it in December. I'm going to, I'll go in there and I'm going to do it at about half of what my regular rate is, mainly because if they have a good fundraiser, that's less money that I have to pay for my son to go to whatever class trip they're doing.
Yeah.
It's the money. I want them they want them to have some compensation in that, because technically I could give them the dance for all practical purposes. It's not going to make or break. It's not like it's a homecoming night. But you want to make sure that they have some skin in the game. So I think, Mike, that the $200, I think that's getting some money in there, especially if it's on an off night where you're not going to be turning away work. I would check on the smoke machine, and I would just really focus on good quality sound would be my first thing. I've done middle school dances with no lights whatsoever. We just had sound system because the school would not turn the lights down in the gym. We had a dance, and they said we don't turn lights off for our junior high dances. Okay, no big deal. I don't care. I've got enough sound where I can blast these kids, and they'll have a great time. But think about lights that just give the kids that movement and such. Because I bring my 7th grade my son out, and I was showing him I've got 6 moving heads that I had all programmed up to this really cool show, and he's looking at that, and he's like, yeah, that's okay. And then we went and got this stupid little. It's like a Vertigo. It's a LED version of Vertigo. I don't remember what the mushroom light is. And he's like, "Oh, this is cool. I like this." It's like, dude, there's what, $4,000 worth of moving head fixtures, and it's like a $79 light, and you like the $79 light. Thanks.
Yeah, the thing is, they've never seen it before. To us, it's like, oh wow,
that's very true.
That's 10 years old, that technology, or 15 years old, but they've never, to them, it's new.
I didn't even think about that. Oh my God, you might be hitting it on the head. It's a new technology for them.
Well, that's why I say, like, when I do these events, these recurring events, I have such, an arsenal. I brought out some old stuff. And they're like, oh, wow, that's cool. And I'm like, oh, I won't tell them that, oh, yeah, that's 10 years old. They think it's something new. You always have a different show every year.
Yeah, this is my 1997 show.
Yes.
Oh, that's funny.
But as far as this fellow with the dance, I'll tell you, do it like it's a $750 job, though.
Good point. Very, very good point.
You never know who's watching, and these people are going to grow up, and somebody's going to have a sweet 16. Somebody's going to get married. Always go with your A game. Even if you've agreed to do it for less than you normally would. That's how I do it.
And this is a good example with this particular school. Is for about 5 years we were doing their proms. We did their prom each year, and it was between $1,200 and $1,600 depending upon what we were doing, which was a substantial amount. And they were getting funding from other sources. The advisor changed, and of course, you're paying that much for them? Well, then once they got the new advisor, then we're hearing they were playing music that wasn't clean, and they weren't doing music videos, they weren't doing this, they were doing this, and all these different little nuances. So part of why your bring your A game is exactly what I'm planning to do for this particular dance, and why I'm going to do it myself, is because I can go in there and do this, and the kids have never seen anything like what a real DJ can do.
Right.
They're going to see that, and now it'll be like, oh wow, that was really cool. Maybe we need to bring that prom, because once I've been out of the school for 3 years, it's like I never existed, because the kids don't remember you. Really, 2 years is about if you've been out for 2 years, they'll never. Who? Did they do a dance here? No, they never did a dance here. So, okay, I think we're good. Okay. So Howie, let's jump back into first off. From your audio, you mentioned the importance of having that 0 dB through that chain. Can you give us, for the people who don't understand what that means, can you give us kind of an explanation? Because we're coming from computer to controller, or maybe from wireless microphone to controller to the powered speaker, or some configuration like that. What does it mean to have that throughout?
Okay, if you're at 0 dB. You're gonna have a very, very clean signal. And if you're looking at like the digital UV meters, that's just on the borderline of green to yellow. Okay, and if you keep that, especially if you're running a mixer, you can see it on the mixer. Okay, and then when you get I use, after my controller, rather, I have a mixer, and I do use that DBX, because I'll use that for the audience microphone, because the noise suppression. That also has gain levels. So you set your gain for 0 dB there. And speakers, not going to get a high, and you can go 5 or 10 dB. As 30, you're going to be as you can get, and then your speakers will do the amplification for you. You leave a little headroom on your mixer, and you're good to go. You're good to go.
See, people are talking about buffering. Just hang on a second. I want to make sure that if we're back. If you're watching us, we're just wanted to buffer. I'm hearing that. I don't know. We must have had a hiccup in the YouTube world. Must have had a hiccup here. Yeah, it seems that we're back here. I think we're back again. We may have to stitch a video together. There we go. Okay, thanks. Yeah, there we go. They're back and such. So, Howie, let's we'll talk about what we were talking when I think the buffering went down. Is we were kind of talking about the reason for that, and Howie, to kind of paraphrase, you were saying, if I'm pushing that mic too hard, and on my little ULX microphone, I can actually see if it goes into the red. If I'm going into the red, right there at that microphone, give us a rundown of what I'm experiencing.
Well, that's distortion. And what happens down the line, down the audio chain, is you're going to amplify distortion. If you keep that, at 0 dB, between the green and the yellow, you're going to be fine, and you can amplify at your powered speakers. And if you're using, I see a lot of people using external mixers in addition to their controllers.
Yeah.
Then you want to be a little bit below 0 dB there, so you have what we call headroom, so that you can push that up. But I don't use that. I'll do that from the back of my EVs, and I've actually been asked to turn down. Just keeping it clean, keeping everything at 0 dB, and I do everything at 0 dB when I do my quick test, and then I get out there and they're like, "Wow, you got to turn down a little bit, dude." No problem.
Yeah, it's easier to turn down.
I can just back right at my DJ controller. All I do is take the master volume and bring that down, and I know I'm not going into the red anymore anywhere. I'll get it to ear splitting level, at 0 dB, and then I know I can back off.
Yeah.
But then I know it's going to be really clean. And that tip that Brian has said a few times, I've been doing that, my whole career, is I cut the mids. It's easier on the ears.
Mm-hmm.
People want the thump in the chest for the dancing. They like that, and then they want to hear, the vocals, and you don't get what we call ear fatigue. And everybody seems to be happy. It's not like 20 years ago when we were out there, like you say, with the horns, and it wasn't that the thump in the chest was loud. Everything was loud, and your ears were ringing by the end of the night.
Oh yeah.
And then, well, now too, there's a lot of venues, will actually ask you to turn down. They ordinances about hearing loss, and I'd imagine you get that with the schools too.
I've yet to get that, which is an interesting thing, because I would think you would, but we've gone in with the big EV systems, and we've gone in with the big Yamaha, and I had that, and in front it's dangerous volumes, you would think, especially for a length of time.
Well,
and
sure.
The kids are like, "Yeah, turn it up," and you're there, and and Jeremy, I think, Jeremy Landby, Jeremy, he runs huge sound systems. If you guys haven't checked out Undertaker's DJ, I think on Facebook is his company. Jeremy, have you ever had a situation where you've had a school or somebody like that ask you to keep your volume down? Because he runs these huge EV systems, the Phoenix sound system. So he's running the big subs and an array of tops and such. Incredible shows and loud. Yeah, Jeremy likes to play it loud. way louder than I do. So, Jeremy, if you could just share with that in the chat room, if you've ever experienced that, so that'd be cool. Let's talk a bit, because again, I want to kind of pick on your audio background and such. What do you when you're shopping for speakers or you're choosing different speakers? What were some of the things you were looking for, and what made you settle on the EVs?
First, it was the quality, and the fact that that they've been around forever was there. But then I honestly was the weight. I was looking for the weight, and I also wanted to have the DSP that's built in, because I go back to the days of carrying racks after racks, and I can fit a pretty big show in a small pickup truck, or a small van, and no racks. So that was the thing for me. And like I said before, I wanted that name recognition out there for the public. That's important. They're gonna, people look for branding. They do, whether it's, EV or Bose or JBL. These are names that are known.
Yeah.
And, I settled. I didn't like the little sticks. I didn't like that the Bose have. I just didn't care for that. So I went with the EVs, and they're about 35 pounds or so.
Nice. So
that was good for me. And wow, they'll easily cover 300 people. Mm-hmm. And that's, and truthfully, most of the events I do are not. I haven't done one over 200 in a long time. Weddings are getting smaller.
I would agree. That's another trend we're kind of seeing up this way. Also, is this past weekend it was 50 some people or 48 people at that wedding, which is unusually small. But goodness, I think I only had one that was over 250 this year. Otherwise, they were 175 to 225 was the kind of the bigger ones. Some people were talking about dB tops music here, that the teacher walk around with the dB meter. That'd be crazy.
I've heard of that. I don't do schools. I just don't get involved in that. But I have been asked at an outdoor venue to turn down.
Yeah, I've had that.
We have a place. They call it a grove, and in the summertime the restaurant opens up. It's basically garage doors, and they open up, and they'll have music from 6 until 10. And they asked me to turn down, because of the neighbors. And they actually had a dB meter from Radio Shack.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
Our story of the outdoor events is we were doing, actually, Lori and I were having a party here for some family members in this one summer. And we were going, and we had karaoke that night. So we would be playing DJ music, and of course it would carry outdoor, middle of summer, it'd carry for miles. And then when we would have somebody sing, of course, the volume's way down because it wasn't as loud. So what ended up happening is we got called in by, I think, half a dozen spots, but there were people 5 miles away who called the police on our event, because we're out here in the middle of nowhere. So the police they'd get the call, they came down, they'd stop the vehicle, get out and listen. Nothing. After about a minute, he said he got back in his car, because he did find us eventually. Head back to county. They get another complaint. He came back down. I think it's the 6th time down when he finally could hear and figure out where it was. And then once he got within light, where you could see the lights flashing, he knew where we were. But so yeah, sound does carry outside quite well. Jeremy wants to bounce off. I don't see his reply here, on that about this sound. So cool stuff. Just making sure we don't have. Invite the neighbors. That's the theory and plan. But I've had a couple of outdoor events where they've invited the neighbors, and they didn't show up. They still were just waiting out at the lake, especially because we live in a lakes area, so we're doing that out there. Good stuff. Before we wrap things up, Howie, you mentioned 2017. It's looking like a busy year. Are you looking at any kind of upgrades or purchases that you're going to be doing in 2017?
I really, I, I shouldn't. I shouldn't.
I know what that's like.
But I am really coveting the ADJ Focus Spot One series movers, because there's so many venues won't allow you to use fog anymore. The only way around that is a very bright light, because it'll pick up whatever dust is in the air and it'll still look good.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm looking at, truthfully, and yeah, do I want to spend 5,000 on that? No, but I'm probably going to do it. I'm going to say no, and you know what? You'll see a video soon. Hey, look what I got.
Yeah, they were talking about your YouTube videos and some of the creative things you've done. And everyone will be commenting, you couldn't resist.
I'll look you right in the eye and tell you I'm not going to do it, and I know I'm going to get them.
Oh, of course. And the more you'd say no, that's when all of a sudden it'll be like, oh man, they're running a deal.
I mean, after seeing them, it's like, actually, that would be great. The fog machines are kind of a pain in the butt, with the fluid all over stuff, and then it gets on your hands, and then, and if you have those things are bright, they really will. If they let you have the room dark enough, they'll put a beam out.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They will put a beam out.
Yeah, that they do, and that's I had some smaller moving head fixtures that they'd be okay, but boy, when going from that, I think that was a 14 watt, and I think now I'm up to, I think the ones I've got are a 50 watt LED. Oh my gosh,
yeah,
night and day.
And day.
I also have to be careful with that, because if they're shining on the guests too much, they're so bright that it's like, ooh, dimmer. Exciting.
Well, then you can use them for aerial.
Yeah.
And if you're doing schools, that'd be great.
Then we don't care. Yeah, let them go.
Awesome. Get out the old Vertigos.
Yeah, exactly. I'll pull those back out.
Hey, we got a new light.
Yeah, look at this really high-tech light. Is it supposed to be so hot? I'm feeling it over here 20 feet away. Yes, it is. It's the latest thing in bulbs. It's called a halogen.
Oh, man.
300 watt halogen.
I'm so glad I don't have to buy them anymore.
I found when I was cleaning out the back shed the other day, because I've been getting rid of some old stuff I haven't touched in 20 years, and we had a tray that had the little boxes that had the bulbs for the Vertigos, because at the time we ran 16 systems at one time around central Minnesota, and every show had 2 Vertigos. Well, every week one bulb's in every show is gonna break, most likely, because especially when you have staff, they're never gonna let the thing cool down and then handle it gently and put it in its tote and wrap it up. No, it was like, and the show is over. Quick, take it, throw it over there. Okay, great, now let's go. So, yeah, I had, I think, about 25 or 30 of those bulbs, because I bought them in bulk. Just going, oh yeah, we'll take 100 bulbs. Go.
Oh boy,
Mr. Garbage Man. Take those.
Now that's an expense. I'm thankful. You had that show, for Thanksgiving. I'm thankful I don't have to buy halogen anymore.
Yeah. You don't have to do that. You don't have to carry all the extension cords we used to have to carry.
Exactly.
And yeah. And wait, now how long were those on? Were those on 8 minutes? That's a 10-minute duty cycle on that. Okay, I got to play my music now. I've got 2 fast songs, but now I can't do now we got to play something different, because I can't use the light I want to use for that.
That's a big selling point these days for me, John. Especially with venues and so forth. They've asked me. The last place I was at, they're pretty much out of touch with what's going on. As far as technology these days, and I was doing the uplighting, and they very, very high end place, and they had beautiful window treatments, and they were like, oh, that's not going to catch on fire, is it? And I said, listen, ma'am, here, and I put my hand on the light, and I said, it's LED. This is new technology. It does not get hot. This is not like the old days, and when I plugged in, she said, "That's all you need is one outlet. Are you going to blow a breaker on me?" And I said, "No, no." And I showed her what was going on, and she recommended me for a few gigs. She liked, like we said before, I'm taking care of their property, and they really appreciated that.
For sure. That's a huge thing. Yeah, that's a neat thing. Howie, I want to jump to you made it. We're going to tangent. We're going to go. Yeah, if you guys, we're not going to talk about anything really important because we're just going to tangent and talk about. Now we're just going to wrap.
Cool.
You mentioned earlier that that the light show is part of what you do, and you don't want to go into venues and such without your light show. I have the lights. I can run big light shows. The last actually couple of weddings I've done have been with no light show whatsoever. And I've thought the same thing that, oh my gosh, people are going to see me without the light show. One of the cool things, and we'll start with this past weekend's wedding. It was in a pole shed that they've converted. And I've actually got some pictures, and I'm going to use this. Hopefully next week I can get back into doing my Tuesday tips, because this is there's two things from that event I'm going to use for Tuesday tips. One is an idea Lori had, my wife Lori, and then the other one is talking about the lack of lights. But in this particular case, I've had some venues when I haven't had lights, and they still want to turn the lights down like they typically do. And when I go in and I don't have lighting, it's mainly because the couples have spent a lot of money putting up all of these decor lights up on the ceiling, and they want that to stand out. They don't want to have this going on. They want to have all of the icicle lights or whatever they've got, the swag with the.
Yes,
that's what they want, and that's and this particular show this weekend. You'll see that they had these big. They had the different lights that were going through, and then they had these big balls that were kind of like a chandelier. It wasn't a chandelier, but they had these big illuminated ball. What they also did is they wanted to have it so they could have this moment up in front, and they wanted it so that there would be enough light to illuminate them at this one specific moment. And that particular moment was they knew that their crowd wasn't going to be a very good dancing crowd because of where they were from, and they were right. The crowd they weren't a oh my gosh, we're going to get up and dance crowd. They loved their slow songs, and they loved to do some 50s, 60s for a couple, and that was about it. And then they'd drift off. But they wanted to do is have this moment where they were going to be coming up. They had a table up between the speakers by this what would be the stage, and it had some props on it. And they wanted to have it where they came up there, and he grabbed the guitar, and he was going to do an air guitar thing to the song that they had picked out, and she was going to be the lead singer to it. And they wanted to have it so that the lights were all shining towards them. In essence, typically DJ lights would be shining from behind them, blinding their guests. They wanted everything going towards them so their guests could see. Every guest who left that event, none of them are going to be talking about, oh, that DJ didn't have lights. They're talking about what a cool thing that Gretchen and Chris did. That was so cool. And it was all set up. The DJ, lined things up and did this. And, we had a great time. We were dancing. And people could see what was going on the floor. And that's been, for me, almost, I've gotten more compliments on the shows we didn't have lighting than I have on my lighting. And I hate that because I love my lights. So. Yeah,
I do more non-wedding events, and that's where I'm known for the light shows. But then, yes, weddings, yeah, you have to be tasteful. I've been to them where the last one, I actually use it because I use the ADJ Any1 controller, and you can set different scenes with that. So I got there early enough that I used the white lights on the movers and had them all boom, where it, because I'm busy, mixing and so forth and doing the announcements, that all I had to do was hit one button, all the movers, white light, boom, right to where the grand entrance was. The next scene, for their first dance, white light, boom, all right to the center of the dance floor with the press of one button, because I pre-programmed this ahead of time. Yes. Like I said, early. Next scene, what's the next big event? Cake cutting, all the movers, boom. That, I got the biggest compliments on that. Yes. And it was just white light than I did on anything that was, anything else. Everything was just, tastefully done. It was just uplighting, and I had the movers to spotlight them for their special different events during the event.
Yeah.
And that, that seemed to be the biggest thing. I mean, I'm not going to put on, like a dance type high school dance light show at a wedding, but for that just had such a big impact that they saw these things move, and it made them look like stars.
Oh, for
and
sure.
That's how they felt. At the end of the night, they came up, and I think I've told this before. They came up and they gave me 2 crisp $100 bills. They said, "You made me look great." The photographer came up and gave me a 50.
Oh my.
For doing the lighting stuff, because I had different things that I had going, and everybody has seen the pictures where, like the vertigo type lighting, where you have some lasers going, and there it's on the face.
Yeah.
Oh, it would have been a great picture if that green dot wasn't on their face.
Yeah, right in the middle of
Well,
here in the corner of our eye, so you can't get it out.
Yeah, well, I queued up with the photographer, and I said, "Hey, look, you just, you give me the nod when you're going to get a shot, and I'll stop, the special effect lighting, and I can give you some white light."
Mm-hmm.
And I did that, and they got their shots, the cake cutting, the this and that, and they were so appreciative. I mean, that was the first time. I never had a photographer give me money.
I've not heard that one before, so good job with that.
I was like, wow, cool. I said, "Well, here's my card," and they gave me their card. I said, "I'll recommend you," and they'll recommend me, and I mean, it was an elegant wedding.
Yeah.
So yes, yeah. Just the uplighting and the spotlighting of certain highlights.
And I think that's a good point. Is the idea that an elegant wedding, finding out what the couple wants, and again, getting to, like Ron Ruth was talking about last night, the listening, having the conversation, finding out what's important to them. With my couple this past weekend, the importance was that moment, and that actually DJ lights would have hindered that moment, so it didn't make sense. A few weeks back, when we did the wedding down at this lakeside in Glenwood, some of you might have seen the 360 picture of, because it's been a while, where they had the King's Table, Harvest Table, but it's this beautiful venue on the lake, and they had the lighting in the ceiling. They wanted to have that, and they've done some uplighting in that vaulted ceiling. I mean, it's beautiful, and that's what they wanted to see. They didn't want to see a bunch of DJ lights shining on them. But it was fitting the event. Howie, you mentioned not doing a school dance light show. Well, I think I had 1 or 2 this summer that we did that because that's what the couple wanted. They were just like, "Oh, we want to have lots of lights and do all this," and sometimes you do.
I did have one, and that was 2 years ago. It was the very first same-sex wedding that we had and it was at this country club in Jersey, and it was the same month that they legalized it, and everybody was running to the courthouse. And these ladies wanted to do a wedding, a public wedding, not go in the back door.
Right.
And they did. They said, "We want you to do, a big light show and this and that." And I said, "Do you know what I do?" And they said, "Yeah, we saw your New Year's Eve show. That's what we want." I said, "Are you kidding?"
You're talking.
Really?
Okay.
I was like, well, they're in their 50s, and they had people coming in from all over where they had people from Canada and France, and they actually podcasted all around the world.
Wow.
In Australia, and they wanted a Studio 54 look. I had to break out the old mirror ball.
Yep.
And all that. That's what they wanted. And the age limit, the age group was from 50 up to 70. They danced all night. And, we did the elegant, ceremony thing and the uplighting for dinner. But when they were done dinner, wow, did they party. I mean, from the first song I put on was Brick House. Everybody rushed out that big circle, had turned on the mirror ball, and they got in a circle, just like the movie, and they took turns, dancing right down the center of the thing and
Yep.
strutting their stuff, and I knew I had them, and they danced all night. All night, a big light show. I mean, and the venue was like very, very upscale. And the lady in charge came out, and she was like, "Oh my God, we've never had anything like this." I said, "You mean a gay wedding?" And she said, "No, lights."
Yeah, exactly. And there's been some country clubs like that too. And
Yeah.
Now that brings us back to the point of being underpowered with those old halogen lights at the country clubs. We made that. We should wrap it up, Howie. We've been on for an hour. Thank you for being on tonight and sharing some stories and ideas and such. And thank you guys for watching tonight. If you like tonight's show, just give us a thumbs up down below. We sure appreciate it. I don't know how much we missed. We're going to try. I'm going to look at that. If we missed too much of it, then I'll do a re-edit of it. But I think we kind of recovered the topic, which I think might have missed when it started buffering. So I think we're okay. But if not, we'll put that back. I'll refix this video and go from there. So once again, Howie, thank you for being on tonight. Appreciate it. And
thank you, John.
We'll chat again later. Next week we'll be back again. Brian will be back starting tonight. Well, actually starting last night. We're going to be doing shows for the next 14 days. We've got the 12 Days of Christmas starts Thursday night. But tomorrow night we're doing a music show. MJ and Dan are going to be talking about micro and mini sets. That's going to be going, I think, you guys have to find out the times on that one for sure. And then Thursday I've got Casey, then it's Mitch. Saturday night I'm actually going to be breaking out the music set on the other side for Saturday night, and we're going to be talking about the weird music John plays. Sunday is Alan Berg. Monday is Shaney. We the whole schedule. Go to djntv.com, click the schedule, and you'll see everyone who's going to be there. And we've got prizes. We're going to be starting off giving away some promo-only stuff Thursday. Friday, we're giving away a year's subscription, I believe, for music. I don't know. We've got a lot of stuff, culminating with 2 different sets of speakers. We've got about $10,000 worth of gear we'll be giving away over the next.
Ooh.
Yeah, so there's a lot of cool stuff there. So
I'll take some of those moving lights.
Yeah, there's going to be, I think, Blizzard. I was talking to Will today, and Blizzard's one of the sponsors of this, and he had one thing in mind, and then he's like, I think let me go check some things, and I'll get back to you tomorrow. So I'm kind of excited to see what because if you guys know Will from Blizzard, he's kind of an outside the box, he's just a kind of a goofy way. He thinks about things in a goofy way, so it'll be fun. Who is Shaney? Yeah, who's Shaney? She's the boop girl.
The boop girl.
Once again, guys, thank you for watching, and we'll catch you tomorrow night with our show.
You.
Thank you, Howie. Good night, everyone.
Good night.